everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for this warm welcome. I'm really excited to be here. Hopefully you all had a great day one, and I'm excited to be back for day two. I was saying that I was always curious about the name of the event. Why are we kissing the future? Like, how intimate are we with this? But now it all makes sense. I invite you to explore it as well. It makes sense, and I think it's a great connection to the past and the history of the area. So I'm Psalti. I'm a senior director at Microsoft's Azure AI engineering team. I lead the AI applied engineering team. So I have the privilege and honor to kind of like be between product development and how these technologies are adopted with partners, with customers. So I see kind of like both the making of the AI bits and how kind of like they land in the users, the builders, the practitioners' hands. So over the years, I've been in this role for about 4 years, but in the AI space for 10 plus, and I kind of like, try to gather some of the best practices, some of the things that work, just to make sure that we all have a baseline, almost like a checklist, as we're all really adopting different parts, bits and pieces of AI platforms and AI capabilities. So hopefully this will help you in whatever stage of adoption you are, whether you are starting early, experimenting, exploring, or whether you're further down the path of actually using and kind of like developing applications, agents, kind of like, your whole business around it. So let me know at the end if, any of these, like if you're doing any of these or already, if, you're doing something different, something else. I think, we're all kind of like in the same boat, really exploring, experimenting, in the same time, whoops, I'm redecorating at the same time. And because we're all learning at the same time, so I'd love to hear how you are really adopting it, what works, what doesn't work, and we can all learn from each other. And that's the beauty of this event. I love kind of like the culture, I love the atmosphere, I like the exchange of ideas, and it's a great opportunity for me to also learn something new, so I'm really looking forward to connecting with everyone and learning from all of you as well. All right. So I'm very pragmatic. I want to make sure that this is not about theory. I think there are a lot of other great presentations around other kind of areas. I wanted to start the day with like almost like a checklist of how we can get going. The first thing I want to point out that there is a misconception that in order to use AI, you have to have like a computer science degree, you have to have a data science background, and that's not the case. I think now AI is being integrated in a lot of the productivity capabilities that we see, a lot of the tools that you use every day. I'm going to use a lot of the Microsoft examples. This is not an advertising by any sort. So if you're using any other hyperscalers or any other tools, that's fine as well. We can have a conversation. But I'm going to use this example, because half of our engineering team is working basically with the rest of the product areas to make sure that we integrate and we incorporate all these capabilities that we have kind of like, available for developers and data scientists directly to other teams. So if you're using PowerPoint and, you want to translate it from, Bosnian to English or vice versa, you don't have to do it in a manual way. You can, use the AI capabilities that are embedded in the product itself. If you're using Teams for your conference calls, you can really activate the facilitator. The facilitator can, keep you on time. They can summarize the content. They can give you action items, next steps. So, I want to invite you all to kind of like, use products that are kind of like, have this AI capabilities really embedded, because then, you can really make sure that you're much more productive in what you're doing. Also, I think Microsoft did a good job kind of like branding this Copilot concept, which is basically having like, actually a Copilot with you. It's just having a team of really great interns that, can do a lot of research. They can help you summarize things or translate things. The whole notion behind the Copilot is that, you have almost like, a companion with you that enables you to do your job better, faster, and frees you time so that you can do, the things that you do best. So that's kind of like the first part. Then if you're going like, I'm sure, the past 3.5 years or 3 years have been kind of like, really transformative for all of us with the introduction of the large language models. And I'm sure all of you are using, kind of like your LLM of choice or a collection of them, if anything else. And so it's really important to choose the right one. And that's, I think, the first question that I ask when I meet people. I'm like, which one is your favorite? What do you use for what type of task? Because now we're at the point where, there is a plethora. It's not like one, it's a plethora of them. So this is kind of like, one way to look at the categories of LLMs. You have the traditional ones. I call them that because at Microsoft, we started doing this work, believe it or not, around maybe 20 years ago. So we started training our own AI models 20 years ago, where AI was not really anywhere near where, at the stage where we see it now. So there are a lot of like great single use case kind of like, AI capabilities that you can use. There is and maybe I have it here, yeah. So there is speech to text. If you have a bunch of calls, and you want to transcribe them in order to do some further kind of like, investigation after that, you can do speech to text. If you want to kind of like, have a voice avatar, you can use, text to speech. The translation piece, a lot of, the face API for face recognition. So if you have a single task use case, there are a lot of great AI models that can be easily fine-tuned, that they can be used in combination with others. And they have quite a light footprint, so it's not going to break the bank, and it's going to be quite efficient and accurate. And of course, 3 years ago, we saw the world change with the explosion of LLMs. I think OpenAI kind of like opened the door for others to start training their AI models. And now you have kind of like a variation of them. You have multi-modal ones where you can interact with them with images and videos and audio on top of text. Also, you have the reasoning ones. So, if you're doing some deep computational, thinking, kind of like, a little bit more analytical work, they can do really a great job. And then you have a new family that, we see that, we started on our research side, the small language models. These are models that are trained with specific industry data. And the interesting part about this family is that they can work on the edge. So if you are in the manufacturing, retailing, kind of like industries, and you have a lot of different people working in the field through a laptop or like a tablet or a phone, even if they don't have internet connectivity, the Phi 3 capabilities will still work. So that's kind of like another set of options. And then, of course, you have a plethora of them through, the open source community. So we really believe that, now we are in the world of AI model optionality. So we want to make sure that, when we provide kind of like this choice, we work with a lot of different providers. So not only we train our own AI models, but, we work with the Meta team for their Llama Head. We work with Cohere, with Mistral, with Entity for the Japanese-based models, with G42 for the Arabic-based model, and so forth, and so on. And this is kind of like, we have a whole team that basically does this, evaluates third-party LLMs and decides kind of like, how we can bring them into the Azure AI platform. So in most cases, you will use 2 or 3 AI models at the same time, and that's a good thing. Also, my favorite tool, it's a little bit techie, but whenever I talk about kind of like the plethora of LLMs, like I see people like, their stress level goes up, because then, the issue is like, what do I choose? Which one is the best for what I have? So we introduced the model router. I think, OpenAI now has it as part of their GPT-5 AI model. So basically this optimizes the model that you pick based on the prompt. So if you have a simple prompt that asks, what is the weather in Sarajevo today, it will automatically pick a smaller, lighter footprint AI model. And then if you have a more complex, more complicated prompt, like, create a 5-day itinerary from Sarajevo to, Paris for a family of 5 that are vegetarians, then it can pick the appropriate one. So basically, it optimizes the accuracy and the cost efficiency. So this is already built in for a lot of the Azure OpenAI models that we have, and we're trying to introduce this to others as well. So the interesting part, I just wanted to kind of like have some fun here, because we see kind of like the explosion of multimodal one. So you can interact with the LLM by, entering your images. So, basically you can upload your image, which is like, let's pretend that we own this lovely villa. And basically, the model will create, an advertising content to, present and highlight kind of like the function. So I didn't put anything else in the prompt. I said, here is the image. Make sure that, you create an advert that, helps us really sell this. But in a more serious note, also this works with disaster recovery, with disaster prevention. So this is like, we have a situation with a flood. So again, uploading this type of images, the model can help us identify where the water is coming from, what is going on. So it can help us diagnose things, and also it can take action, and it can, help us kind of like, by recommending we notify the authorities as well. And it works well with video. This is like a video. So it identifies that, there is a fire going on, diagnoses where the fire comes from, that it's still active, and then it gives us the recommendation to work with the fire department and all of that. So this is like, a really great way to interact with LLMs in real life use cases. And now we're taking it into one step further. So we're taking kind of like the intelligence and the knowledge that we have from the LLM, and we are introducing actions. So now the agent basically still leverages the knowledge and kind of like, the brain power of an LLM, but with the right grounding in the right knowledge area, so wherever your customer data, your product information is, and also coupling it with actions. Now they can take it a step further. So now they can fill out a form, they can submit a ticket, they can book a flight, they can, book an appointment in your calendar, and so forth and so on. So now we're taking kind of like the beauty and the capabilities of LLM, and we are expanding it so that they can do more things for us. And they can do a lot of things, right? They can reason, they can write code, they can troubleshoot code. I mean, I have a couple of agents, not only writing code, but debugging and doing the testing and the orchestration and a lot of things. They can take action, so they can fill out forms, they can submit tickets, and also they learn. So the more you use them, the more they understand the use cases, the context of your industry, your company, what you're doing. They can learn, so they can reroute things according to kind of like, what the context is. So now we see this evolution, right? Like, maybe like, 8 years ago, we were, very human-centric, if you will. So in the example of HR, you had a person, they were doing a lot of manual work to get things work. Then, even like 10 years ago, we see a lot of chatbots coming. So you have an FAQ and you want to activate it. So you create a chatbot, and now there is some interactivity, so people can ask questions. The answers come from your knowledge base. So this is great. There is some automation, but still there is a lot of heavy work on the individual. And now we're kind of like at the early stages of agentic AI. We still have the human in the loop, right? They're still there, but they're not doing all the work. They're supervising, they're creating the instructions, and they're making sure that everything works well. So that's kind of like where we're heading. Another best practice that I feel very strong about is to make sure that whatever you're using is enterprise ready. Whether you're a small company or a larger enterprise, you want to make sure that a lot of the things that you're using can be managed, right? So now, especially when you introduce agents, you're going to give the right access to your right user groups. And you want to manage it, meaning you can assign users and access to different areas, create kind of like the governance around who uses it, who builds it, who evaluates it, why, when, and all of that. You want to make sure that what you're using is secure and scalable and all of that, right? And something that is also very, very serious, especially now with all the cyber attacks that we see, and because there are a lot of model providers there that, you have to like pay attention to the terms and conditions, the T&Cs, because a lot of the providers, they will use your data that you put in the prompt, whether you put like, whatever information to, customize it or fine tune it. They might take it and they might use this information to train future versions of the model. Or they might take it and kind of like sell it or share it with third parties. So you want to make sure that you're using the right LLM for the job, but also making sure that they're the right T&Cs so that your data stays within your company and within your group. Another key area here is also how to use AI in a responsible way, right? Because with more innovation comes more responsibility of how to use it in the right way so that we don't jeopardize the privacy and the experience for our users internally and for our customers as well. So we started doing this work even before AI was a thing, because we wanted, like internally within our engineer and research teams, to make sure that we have kind of like a common vocabulary, a common set of rules and checklists to make sure that we're all training things and developing things in the right way and in a common kind of like set of principles. So we came up with kind of like, specific requirements that we need to have to avoid bias, to increase the transparency, the traceability of what we build and what we bring to the market. So we developed a set of processes, tools, governance best practices. All of these are available for you to leverage, to customize, to make your own. If you have your own rules, that's absolutely great. If you need some inspiration and you want, to look what we've done, these are all available. You can take a look and, leverage whatever you need. Also, on a more geeky side, we also develop some responsible AI tools. So if you're using a lot of LLMs and you don't know exactly which one you want to pick, we have an evaluation and responsible AI dashboard where you can upload several different LLMs, and you can benchmark them based on accuracy, on fluency, or coherence, whatever these kind of like requirements that you have. We also have a content safety tool. This is really key because if you want to kind of flag for certain language and terms, either on the input or the completion side, language around violence, self-harm, hate, and there is a scaler, so you can make it as strict or as lenient as you need. For example, we work with a lot of gaming companies, and their kind of like, propensity for violent language is, much higher than a bank. Or also we work with ministries of defense or with cyber security companies, so they can switch it off because they want to flag for every single term. So it's up to you. You can customize it. Again, I wanted to share some tools that are out there. They're all free. So you can kind of like, use them to make sure that you safeguard the experience for your customers. And then a common also mistake that I see over and over again is that we choose AI because it's cool, because our CEO is telling us we need to do it, because our PR team is telling us to do it, or, because it's part of like, what the board is instructing us. So I think we need to start with what are we trying to do first. It's never about the tool, it's never about the tech, it's about what you're trying to solve, right? What is the issue, what is the problem? So I know this is like an eye chart, but I wanted to kind of like bring some ideas of what we see so far with like the people that we work with. So it's important to start with a business need. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to increase the productivity of your employees? Are you trying to introduce some automation? Are you trying to reduce costs? Are you trying to delight your customers? So pick what, where the pain is, where the gaps are, what is repetitive, what is gnarly, what is taking a lot of resources, a lot of people working on it, and focus on this, because this is where you'll see the best value for money, the best ROI. So several of them you probably recognize, you're probably already doing it. There are a lot of use cases around document process automation. We all have contracts, agreements, invoices that we need to extract knowledge from. So this is a great example of putting AI to work. It can, provide the necessary kind of like insights and the speed of research, of searching for the right information to your teams without them having to live through all the contracts and all the content. Contact centers is a great use case because, again, we have a lot of different touch points with back-end knowledge bases. There is a lot of kind of like manual work, and you need to make sure that you use AI to train your help desk or your contact center teams, but also to automate some of the parts so that, the experience on the customer end is a little bit much more streamlined. And so forth, so on. If you have others, if you don't see yours here, I'd love to know about, and we can change it, and we can evolve this. And then also focus on the ROI, right? I know that sounds very self-explanatory, but again, it's not, we're not doing it because it's cool. We're doing it because it saves us money, and it really, helps us kind of like, be a better organization, be a better company, be a better team. So this is some of the kind of like, ROI that we see. Again, the document intelligence part, has like, really great ROI results. The conversational AI as well, translation, if this is part of your business. So always make sure that you have a way to capture, to evaluate, and to communicate the ROI of the things that you're doing. So start with the business need first, introduce the right tool for making, and then capturing the result on the other end. So a 3-step process. And also, if you're building agents, like, how do you pick? Because what I see is like a lot of people are very excited about, what is available, and they come and they have a hackathon, or they have a workshop, and they come up with like 300 use cases. And that's great, but you can't do 300 use cases. So it's important to ask, maybe these are the 4 right questions. Maybe you have yours. It's a sad suggestion. But, what is the problem that you are solving, right? Like, are you automating one part? Are you improving your help desk? Are you improving your product development process? Are you improving your, competitive or market research capabilities? Start with the first, like, what do you need an agent for? Why bother, right? What is wrong? What is not optimized? And then ensure that you can identify, like, is this a pro-code type of project, or is it a no-code, low-code? Because there are tools for either case. You can go into door 1 with, like, more your business users, and there are a lot of tools. We talked about the Copilot stuff that, you can empower them to build things in a kind of like low-code type of platform. And then you have door 2 for your developers, your data scientists, to use kind of like, more pro-code tools. to develop what they need to do. Also, how complex is the use case? Do you need a single agent? Do you need multi-agents? How do you orchestrate them? It's like organizing a team, right? Like who does what? How does everybody work with each other? And then, of course, the end is like, what application you're building, how does it fit into the overall kind of like solution schema of your teams, and go from there. Okay, the next one is around customizing. So in most cases, you're gonna kind of like change the AI model that you're using, right? And this is what we see, like, and all of these three options are very good options. So you will see a lot of 30% of the people that we work with will use something right out of the box. You don't have to do anything else. And it works great, right? There is a plethora of them. They're getting better and better, more capabilities, lighter footprint. You don't need a busload of GPUs to run them. They can be very cost effective. All of this is great. Also, you're gonna see a 10%, which I was hoping it's like lower, but there are some edge cases, that will train their own. This is a very heavy lift. So I want to make sure that you have the right team, the right skills, the right capabilities. This is probably going to happen on the research side because it's going to be too much work otherwise. And then, of course, you have half that are going to fine-tune. And why do you do it, right? You want to make sure that you fine-tune your model. If you're in a specific industry and you have industry or domain-specific information, you want to make sure that you kind of like fine-tune the model. Also, there is a cost efficiency element to it. So you want to right-size the model use for the right kind of like token consumption so that you don't break the bank. Also, if you fine-tune it, you're going to see some latency reduction as well. So that's one of the other reasons, and there are some other, others. And also, this is what the MIT review, I wanted to kind of like reference it also as a third party. A lot of people are looking at improved efficiency, competitive advantage, and enhanced user satisfaction. And that's one of the additional reasons why you should fine-tune, right? But also, there are different options. You can kind of like, I want to make sure that we explore the prompt engineering option first. You can use human language, right? You don't need to do anything else. It's a science and an art. You want to kind of like, guide it and steer it in the right direction. It might not work the first time or the second time. I want to make sure that we all have a culture of exploration and kind of like experimentation and also evaluation. So you might want to kind of like try it a couple of times to make sure you have the right prompt and evaluate the outcome. Maybe you want to build a library of prompts, and there's a lot of content and training around how to do this. But you can do a lot of stuff on the prompt. And then, of course, if you want to ground the model, maybe with real-time information, you have like stock prices, weather, traffic, whatever it is, then you can have the retrieve augmented generation. And then you can have kind of like, if you want to take it a step further, you can fine-tune. But of course, you need to, again, identify the use case, pick the right kind of like, the parameters that you want to fine-tune. You want to have the right data to fine-tune. 90% of the work is having the right data in the right format, labeled, and all of that. Okay, so we're almost there. I'm almost done. Thanks for hanging out with me. So another area is that, the technology, the tools are changing constantly. My team is releasing new versions of LLMs every single week. So what you're all really experiencing, where the bus is moving really fast and you don't know when to get on and how to get off and, what to do with it, we're all in the same boat. You're not alone. We're all in the same boat because everything is evolving and changing really fast. So it's really important to keep yourself and your teams updated, but not overwhelmed. So I'm a big believer in micro-credentialing. Again, the world moves really fast. So, of course, you have your education institutions that provide kind of like the baseline and the specialization that you need. But for things that are kind of really evolving fast, I would really invite you to explore different certifications. There are a lot of trainings. There are a lot of micro credentials that you can have for your team. I think it's important for all of us to kind of have some time for augmenting our skills, for learning. I included some of the Microsoft ones for any level, whether you're on the business side, whether you're on the engineering side or the data science side, and and we try to keep the curriculum and the content as up to date as possible, given kind of how things move. But this is a great way, and also this is kind of like a cultural shift that we all need to make. That it's not gonna, we're not gonna do something and expect that it will be the same for the next 6 months or year. It's really important to be agile and to have this kind of kind of culture of learning new things, experimenting, maybe breaking some things, learning from each other, creating maybe a center of excellence. This is another area. So we need to be able to learn from each other. That's why I love events like this, because I always learn something new, and I always kind of better understand what people are struggling with, or maybe a breakthrough that they have, or maybe they have a best practice that I haven't really seen. So I love this opportunity. So I want to share a couple of examples as I close. This is, you probably know National Nederlanden, a big Dutch insurance company. They had a bunch of insurance agreements, contracts, documents. They wanted to modernize. They want to really empower their employees to search for information faster so that they can service their customers in a better way. So they use the Azure OpenAI service to kind of really extract the right information for these contracts. They created a vector database. They also use the document understanding so that they can flag and extract the right terms and create a vector database so that it can be easily searched. So really, really great example to kind of optimize your operations through AI. Also, Commerzbank, this is a bank out of Frankfurt in Germany. They use the agentic AI to create a customer-centric avatar. So you can go and you can open an account, you can transfer money from one account to the other, you can pay things, you can do a lot of different things. They have a really great kind of human-like avatar. And again, it's a great way to kind of optimize your back-end operations and delight your customers on the other end. So really great example. I have more information or all of this and some others if you need. And last but not least, we worked with a partner out of New Zealand called Soul Machines. And basically they create anthropomorphic contact center kind of avatars that can be integrated with your help desk. They're using Azure OpenAI to extract real-time the sentiment of a conversation so that they can train their avatars to be more empathetic, which is kind of interesting and scary at the same time, but so yeah, this is all I had. Hopefully some of this or a few of these were helpful to what you're building. If you're doing something else that works, let me know, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, and enjoy day 2.